Asia shuddered. Kevin, let's get out of here. We will, but we might run into these things on the way out. Let's see what Gook's got for us. I turned back and people followed me, obviously glad for the chance to give up the search. Do we have anything? JJ shrugged. Some small knives lying about. Our rock hammers be better. Ralphie and Norton held up the bent pieces of 2 Smith & Wesson shotguns. Look at this, Ganjamin said. I found it in a shelf cut into the wall. He produced a beautiful samurai sword, scabbard and all. I wondered where on Earth, or off Earth more likely, it had come from. Dis what we got. Gook spread out the stuff he'd found on the floor. Dima take cop pistol, but not check leg for backup. Not no cops. 4 cops. 3 snub. 38 revolver. 1 .32 Colt Auto. Plenty 9mm ammo, but no 9mm gun. Found tear gas and handcuffs. I didn't know much about guns, but revolvers are simple. I picked one up. JJ, take one. Gook, take the auto. Phil, you used to be with the mob. Hey, Phil protested. That was never... Can you shoot the damn thing? Phil glared at me. It's not in the contract. Can you? He shifted. I did some loan shark stuff. I'm not a freaking marksman. My dad. Asia hesitated. My dad taught me to shoot. He was afraid I'd get mugged after I moved here. I handed her the last .38 and put the tear gas and cuffs in my pocket. Gook handed the .32 Colt Auto to Norton. You soldier in golf. You know how? Yeah. Give me sword, Gook said. I train with sword, as young man. Ganjamin handed him the sword. I stepped back while the others finished arming and glanced over my shoulder at the bronze and iron doors. If Johnny had been telling me the truth, the tunnel beyond them had to lead to the breach between worlds, the Shada beachhead and beyond to Falkaya itself. He'd mentioned 3 passages. I looked around. 3 ragged openings gaped at me like open mouths. We were in the antechamber to hell. Okay, people, I said, my mouth gone dry. We're getting out of here. Now. Maybe somebody on the surface can make sense of this. We raced back up the spiral stone stairwell, making for one of the valve chambers. JJ walked beside me. The modern tunnel was unlit. Moisture beaded the walls, and a thin layer of muck cushioned our feet. Keep it quiet, JJ ordered. Lights on only in the front and the back. Somebody else might be looking. A crudely hacked side passage that wasn't on the map cut through our tunnel. As we passed, I heard a sound that set my heart pounding. I spotted a silhouette in the passage ahead, swaying toward us on unsteady feet. It lurched forward into the light of our torches. A police officer. She stared at me, her blue eyes wild and unfocused, her 9mm waving back and forth. Her uniform was torn and cut, but the bulletproof vest chest seemed intact. Somehow, she still had her hat on, covering short blonde hair. Who are you? She shrilled. Are you with them? The pistol shook in her hand. Long Island, right? I said, trying to break through to her. She blinked and focused on me. What? The accent, officer. Your accent. It's not the Bronx. It isn't Brooklyn, but it's close, so I figure you're from Queens or Long Island. She lowered the gun, and her breathing grew less ragged. Yeah, from Seacliff. Demons wouldn't know that. The 9mm stayed pointed at the floor between us. The allies might, she said. What you telling us, woman? JJ said. They got people with them? She nodded, staring at each of our faces, trying to read something to reassure her. Yeah, there was some suits with them. Guys from the city manager's office. I knew it, Phil said. I've been telling you for years that management was in league with the devil. There were 2 white guys and a black woman with them, the cop said. At least she looks like a woman. I saw a bite through the one guy's neck. I don't think she's human. She wear beads and bells in her hair? JJ asked. Yeah, Sajella, I said. That means Mendeleev and probably Edsel. There's another guy running around down here, she said, lowering the pistol further. He's dressed all in black. Old guy with a big hat. Talks crazy stories. The salesman, I said. The 9mm twitched in her hands. You seen him too? She demanded. Yeah, he told us about the Shada. The Shada, She nodded.
He told me. I was afraid I'd imagined him, that I was losing my mind. Oh, God, how can any of this be happening? Those monsters killed my guys.
Harsh sobs ripped out of her, and she leaned against the tunnel wall. How many monsters? JJ demanded. What happened? I put a hand on his arm and shook my head. JJ ran a hand over his face, then nodded. What's your name? I kept my voice as gentle as I could.
Sergeant Albertino, she managed, wiping tears from her face.
You want me to call you Sarge? She holstered the pistol. My name's Sancia. I'm Kevin Hanlon. This is JJ, Asia, Townie, Ralphie, and Norton. She looked at Ralphie and Norton.
You're kidding me.
Enough meeting and greeting, JJ interrupted. What happened? Sancia turned to look at JJ. We were hunting what killed those homeless guys the Sandhogs found. The dogs were going nuts, almost dragging us along. We ran right into them in that big chamber. 2 men and a woman. At least she looked like a woman at first. Standing with about 20 monsters is the only word. They heard the dogs and charged us. I got out, just barely. Fled back into the tunnel. One of the albinos almost got me, but I fell down a shaft into the next level. It jumped in after me. Took almost a full clip to kill the thing, and by the time I got back... She covered her eyes and her mouth drew tight. We're trapped down here with those things. We gotta get out of here, I said. It's worse than that, Sancia said. I met a crazy man earlier, called himself the salesman. He told me the demons need more blood and souls to open the gate all the way. I stayed out of sight and managed to listen. The white guy with a mustache said he'd sent some city workers down here. The other guy said that'd be enough blood to get the rest of the advance guard through. After that, she shuddered. Millions more. They're gonna invade New York. I've been trying to use my radio, but something's interfering with the signal. I found one of the landlines, but the phone's dead. I've been looking for you people since then. They've been preparing for a long time, I said. My radio hasn't worked since we got down here. I turned back to Sancia. Which way did they go? I don't know, she said. But now that I've found you guys, we gotta get to the surface and get some help. Amen, JJ said. You got a map? Sancia said, spotting the paper in my belt. I shrugged. Yeah, but all it shows are the regular tunnels. I don't know about these other ones. It's okay, it's what we got. This way, I gestured. Wait one, she said. Reaching down, Sancia pulled a small pistol out of her leg holster, then looked at Ganjamin. Can you shoot, big man? A faint smile lifted one corner of Ganjamin's mouth, and he reached for the pistol, seeming glad to get hold of a weapon. He wasn't the best choice, but she was the cop. We headed upward, spreading out and silent. We'd gone 10 minutes in the right direction, and then we heard voices. I waved everyone to the ground and doused the lights. The utter darkness was relieved by a sickly glow coming from a side tunnel ahead. Sajella's voice broke the silence, accompanied by the tinkling of little bells. Mendeleev will not be pleased. Yes. Another voice laughed. Nothing gladdens his heart so much as slaughtering employees. You enjoy it yourself, Etzel, Sajella said. Particularly the women. Etzel. I remembered the slender, weak-chinned geologist. The pair stepped out of the side tunnel right in front of us. A pallid light emanating from a staff Etzel held lit the tunnel, and we all stared at each other for the space of a heartbeat. Freeze! Police! Sancia ordered, leveling her 9mm at Sajella. The rest of us dogpiled on Etzel, unfortunately momentarily blocking Sancia's shot of Sajella, who immediately leapt into the air. But we'd been warned about her. Norton and Ralphie flung their heavy wrenches and hit her in unison. She crashed to the ground. The others left Etzel to me and jumped Sajella. Sancia cuffed the other woman, and just in time. Sajella shook everyone off, Her face twisted into a mask of feline savagery. She bent double and launched herself into Asia, burying her teeth into the big girl's upper thigh. Asia screamed and slammed her fist down on Sajella's head. Ganjamin yelled something in Haitian and backed up, making the sign of the cross. JJ scooped up one of the wrenches and clubbed Sajella, who went limp. Asia twisted free. I turned back to Edsel, the city geologist, who'd offered no resistance whatever. His red and black robes were covered in symbols, like the ones in the death chamber. He offered me a bland smile. "Kevin, you aren't where you're supposed to be. You've made this most inconvenient." I grabbed a handful of his robe and glared into his eyes. "Why were those people slaughtered?" He shrugged. "Blood and souls are the currency of the Shada." I hit him with a straight right to the jaw. It hurt my hand, but in a good way. I smelled his blood, and right now, that was just fine. I slammed him into the rough stone of the tunnel. I drew back a fist and wondered how many times I'd have to hit his face before it no longer resembled a human. He wasn't entitled to a human face. Sansia grabbed my arm. "Knock it off, he's under arrest." I shrugged her off and took aim on Edsel when she grabbed my arm in a proper twist hold. Cops do that better than anyone, even small female cops. I stopped. "Don't you think I want him dead?" she said. "Don't you think I want to fill his guts with 9mm for my brother officers?" "Go ahead," I said. "We ain't them," she said. "We got law, civilization, and I hope to hell, God on our side. Besides, he may be useful. We need to know what he knows about them." Edsel laughed through his smashed lips. "You think I'm afraid of anything you can do? My masters are capable of tortures you can't dream of. You'll get no help out of me. My master's soldiers will find us before you can ever get near the surface." "Shut him up," I said to Sansia as she released my arm. She turned to Edsel. "You have the right to remain silent. Open your mouth, I'll put my flashlight in it." She spun him to the wall and cuffed him. A couple of guys dragged Sajella to her feet. Norton bound up the deep puncture wounds on Asia's thigh. I stood at the front of our parade with JJ, Sansia, and Edsel. I waited while she turned him around again, then shoved the .38 in his face. "We run into any of your pals, and you better be able to talk them into playing nice, 'cause no matter what else happens, you get it." Edsel glared at me, but eyed the .38 and stayed quiet. We resumed our trek to the surface, Asia limping in the back, leaning on Ganjamin. The tunnel widened as we entered one of the fluorescent-lit valve chambers. The Shadalka had been at work here too, as we could see from fresh side tunnels that bored into the chamber. I wondered if the demons actually ate rock in addition to people. Can't we all just get along? They came at us without warning, dropping from the ceiling, running in from freshly dug side tunnels. Ape faces and gator faces. People screamed. I pulled Edsel in front of me. "We have your priest. Get out of our way or he dies, and his priestess with him." The demons facing me charged. For a second, I was so shocked I couldn't move. Then I remembered what JJ said. They don't give a crap about each other. Holding a gun to the priest means nothing. Edsel burst out laughing. I clubbed him with the .38 and let him drop to the floor. An albino gator face came at me, arms wide. I screamed, pointed the .38 at its mouth, and started firing. Parts of its skull came off in red fragments. 4 rounds brought it down. The bang and flash of other weapons signaled the death of 2 more. "Run!" Gook yelled from somewhere to my left. "Get out!" Lights reflected off the samurai sword as he laid about with dazzling speed. Perhaps it glowed with some inner light. He sliced through a demon's arm with one stroke and opened another stomach in the next cut. The Shadalka backed away from him, fear of the shining, slashing blade.